House of Congress supporters of ministries across all the United States. Whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month, whose observance began in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Johnson, was expanded by President Reagan in 1988 to cover 30 years and was enacted into law on August 17, 1988. Whereas the term Hispanic or Latino refers to Puerto Rican, South or Central American or other Spanish culture or origin regardless of race. Today, 62.1 million, or 18.7% of the American population, are of Hispanic or Latino origin, reflects a remarkable display of diversity of the American people. Whereas America recognizes and honors in many ways that Hispanics have enriched the fabric of society, we're also redirecting ourselves to address the lack of equal access to opportunity that many still face. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, David R. Mayor of the Township of Gloucester, and I, Orlando Mercado, President of Council, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month in the Township of Gloucester, and thus renew our commitment to ensure the Township of Gloucester remains a community where the talents and potential of all its members can be fully realized. Dated September 27th, 2021. Proclamation Child Cancer Awareness.
Rich and Morgan, come on up. So Rich reached out to council a couple weeks ago to raise awareness of Childhood Cancer Month. Is the month of September, go gold. So Rich is an advocate for childhood cancer awareness with the state of New Jersey, and Morgan is Gloucester Township's ambassador for childhood cancer awareness. And Rich will fill you in on both, but I'm going to read the proclamation this evening for Childhood Cancer Awareness Ambassador 2021. Whereas September is National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the United States, and Mayor David R. Mayer has proclaimed the month of September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the Township of Gloucester. Please join Rich Nardiello as we go gold during the month, showing your support for continued research towards finding a cure for childhood cancer. And whereas each year nearly 16,000 children will be diagnosed from birth to the age 19 with cancer in the United States. That is 1 in 285 children. And whereas there are approximately 40,000 children actively receiving treatment at any given time, and whereas New Jersey State Senate Resolution 49 unanimously passed on March 16, 2016, designating September Go Gold for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and whereas guided by this resolution, municipalities can designate ambassadors via proclamation, and whereas a child from the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, named Morgan Pizarra as ambassador to represent our township. Morgan is a student at Glendora Elementary School. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, David R. Mayer, Mayor of the Township of Gloucester, and I, Orlando Mercado, President of Council, do hereby recognize Morgan Pizarra as the Township of Gloucester's Childhood Cancer Awareness Ambassador of 2021, dated September 27, 2021.
Real quickly, does everybody know Morgan? Because if you don't, I will guarantee she's going to be sitting up here. So you may as well get friendly with her right now. Because not only did she have her own journey with cancer, she knows how to pay it back. She had a very successful lemonade stand, and she did something for the group that I'm part of, for other children that have journeyed with cancer. We have a toy drive like many organizations, and she did. I don't know if this is good or bad, so I'm not really sure. But what she believe this, was to gather Play-Doh. And as a grandparent, and I know as parents, I'm not sure they really like Play-Doh because it seems to go everywhere, but she gathered tons and tons of Play-Doh to give to other children organizations. So she's very special. So she knows to pay it forward, so I won't take up her time, but thank you very much to my daughter's volunteer fire department for escorting her. I can tell you right now that Pippin didn't do it, Washington Township didn't do it. So thank you very much to those folks, and thank you very much to the councilperson Tracy. Thank you.
Next is an ordinance. It's the first reading. There will be a public hearing at the second reading. Ordinance 0-21-11, ordinance of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, and State of New Jersey, adopting amendment number 6, amending ordinance 0-04-13, entitled the Blackwood West Redevelopment Plan in accordance with NJSA 40A 12A-1 et sec, local redevelopment and housing law. What this does is it puts amendment number 6 to permit office use and accessory vehicles of electrician, painter, plumber, and similar establishments in the gateway redevelopment zone at 534 North Black Horse Pike, and it's subject to a redevelopment agreement or memorandum of agreement determined by the redevelopment entity. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Ms. Grace? Mr. Venero?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams? Mrs. Strato? Yes. Mr. McGrattan?
Yes. Next, I have items on the consent agenda. Any council member would like to have any of those items removed, please speak up. I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
On the question, roll call, please.
Yes.
Ms. Grace? Yes. Mr. Venero?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams? Yes. Mrs. Strato? Yes. Mr. McGrattan?
Yes. We did not receive any GTE access emails. We're now open up the second public portion. This is for any item. Each speaker is entitled to up to 5 minutes. And once everyone has spoken, in order for the speaker to come up again, we have 30 minutes allocated for this public portion. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? Mr. Harbison. Okay, how are you? Okay.
I'd like to get, Scott's not here, I went to see Scott to try to get the stream here between Port Acres and College Drive cleaned up. I live in the ghetto down there, it seems like, so everything's so high. The stream is so jammed with dirt, and trees and everything. And we stopped at the mayor's office, I asked them about it, to try to get it cleaned up. When they took the draining from one side of the street to the other on Broad Acres, Bob Turner, he wanted to take the dirt and smooth it out down there. It was nice and where it was clean. But then the engineer said, "Oh no, we're not being paid for that. You can't do that." Then Scott said he was going to take care of it and clean some of it up. I used to cut the grass and I cut it all the way up one shop right and everything else. Last week, I had the county out there cut the grass on College Drive. And this week here it looks good. And all I want to do is get it cleaned up.
Mr. Harbison, when you said you talked to Scott, is that from Public Works? Scott from Public Works?
Scott, I called him and I never got an answer back from him. I went down there one day over the road.
Can you give me the exact location again? I know where you live, but can you give me the exact location? The location that you're, the
I
exact.
know where it is.
Yes, but the exact location.
Yeah, this is a disgrace down there.
Can you give me the
Look, I'm not used to it because I lived out in Marlton here, country club and everything else. Right? I'm 94 years old. I like, and the same way with the litter. You know what? I never see anybody get knocked up and has to do community service for litter. Right outside of your door last week when I come in here was little cigarette butts where people you could take pictures and find them for it. It's disgusting. See what you can do about it. Okay? I'm not going to be around that much longer. I mean, I did my share. I served the service and everything. That's it. I like the clean.
Thank you for your service. Mr. Harbison, can you give me that location again?
Between 4 acres and College Drive. Right at the corner there.
Mr. Cardis oversees our public works department. He's the guy in the green shirt, Mr. Harbison, over here. Over here in front, Mr. Harbison. He oversees our public works. He's our business administrator. He'll contact public works tomorrow.
I just got out of that. I was out there today working on my lawn. This year here, I had 2 flat tires on my lawn. And then I didn't get like I had it running.
Tom, can you give Mr. Harkinson's phone number? We'll decide to grab his phone number.
856 435 201
Thank you, Mr.
I mean, you've been around a long time. The 3 of us. Okay, have a good day.
It's nice to see you, Mr. Harbison. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Gary Smith, Ormond Avenue, Haddon Township. In regards to the Blackwood West redevelopment act you guys just voted on, I was under the impression that that was the final vote. You said it was the first reading.
For the ordinance.
Okay,
Yes, an ordinance there has to be 2 readings.
this has been before council before several times. And I have the paperwork from Mr. Lechner.
Second ordinance we're doing, so the ordinance is already as first and second reading. This is a different section up towards the, this is for the HVAC.
We have the address listed. I read the address.
Yeah, that was the correct address, 44 West Church Street. I'm the electrician.
Correct.
We had an ordinance for first reading, and that ordinance for the first reading was at 534 North Blackwood Way.
Oh, my mistake. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir, Mr. Burke.
Good evening, Council. Brian Burns, 5 Solwood Drive, Ariel. And I'm back again to advocate for open space. It was real nice to see the 43-acre parcel highlighted in the fall report. And I was approached by a number of residents who would like to go and explore the property. Is there any way that we can put up green acre signage around the borders of that property? Because right now it just blends in with everything else. I would certainly be willing to take a ladder and a hammer or, a portable drill with either a surveyor who surveyed the property originally, or if there's someone, within the public works that can take the survey and properly identify the borders of the property. That way we can mark it out.
Green acres will provide the signs. Must use green acre signs. Not making our tenants. They will at some point come down here and giving us the signs to install. We can request it. I think usually they have a routine to find out.
Why don't we give them a request? And I know, as everyone knows, we have the ability to make signs in this township.
Right.
So,
There's
yes, okay.
And the other item, I was curious about the Murray and Hayes properties. I know they returned the paperwork to Mr. Carlin indicating that they do want to preserve the properties as open space. And the last time I was here, they were talking about getting the assessments.
I haven't seen the assessments come in from the assessors in my office yet. I know they've responded, that they are interested. The next step is once we get, an estimated value, right, in the sense of range, the goal, and what the
Is there,
That's talking about the actual assessment. Yes, it does.
is there a timeline for that to take place, the assessments?
My mind that we've asked, we've already stated, requested the assessor, give us what would be an estimated value.
Right. Okay. And the last thing, the headline on this printout from the township which included the recently acquired Rosalind Bridge property, which is very positive news. It was Gloucester Township, a balanced community. And it kind of didn't really sit right with me, and I did a little bit of math. And the math comes out to the following. Gloucester Township is 24 square miles, which is 15,360 acres. So far, according to the printout here, there's 900 acres that have been saved or preserved. Now, of those 900, there's recreational parks, there's athletic fields, there's playgrounds, all that sort of thing. But even given that, the township has preserved not even 6% of its total land space, which is 94% is open for development. So I'm just going to keep on kind of advocating that we take a look at that. And 6% is not much, and 94% can be developed pretty much into whatever the planning board decides to plan for. So I'm going to continue to advocate. I did receive an email from Mary Ann in Mr. Carpenter's office that I can pursue reaching out to some other landowners who have properties. I would first look at those that are still in the Little Mill watershed. Because there's still a few properties in addition to the Rosalind Bridge, the Murrays, and the Hayeses that are still privately owned. And I had, my gears are also spent. Is anybody familiar with Big Lebanon Run? Big Lebanon Run is a stream that runs from Cobblestone all the way along the expressway and is a major feeder to Grenlock Lake. It's part of Big Timber Creek. And it's a beautiful, continuous piece of property that the township, and most of it is wetlands anyway. But it's something that, in terms of wildlife habitat, and yeah. So thank you for your attention, and just try to remember the number. Only 6% of our land mass has been preserved for public open space. And we're going to keep on pushing, and I'm going to keep on doing what I can. And Tom, if you can let me know about those signs, I'd be more than happy to go out and help post them. And that way, when people go back and they want to explore, they at least know the boundaries of what is open space to the public and what is not. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Is there anyone else? Mr. Crew?
Good evening, Council. Paul Krug, Blackwood Estates. Before I begin this evening, I just wanted to state that Township Administrator Tom Cardis did reach out to me with regard to the dump trucks. Unsure if that was at the request of a council member or council members, but I did want to state that before beginning. Does not have to do with my issue, as that inventory list was provided after a yes vote to the resolution. So if you'll think back with me to the previous meeting on Monday, September 13th, you'll recall I had a question surrounding the aforementioned capital expenditure for dump trucks. I posed the question to assess the level of active, engaged representation of my elected officials. I wondered if you had asked if these new trucks were replacement for trucks being retired, or if simply these were additions to the fleet. And if they were additions to the fleet, was an estimate of their long-term maintenance costs provided to you? Or had you reviewed an inventory list with year and mileage information? These are inquiries I would expect you, the citizens' oversight representatives, to have. Instead, what the citizens received was a yes to a resolution which council trusted the township administrator, who trusted the public works requestee. And from that side of the room, I can see why that would be a problem. But from this side of the room, it's exactly indicative of how expense creep happens and major oversight occurs. The kind that lends itself to inefficiency and waste. So, tonight's question is how far does council's lax style of representative oversight extend? Why were there significant maintenance costs of the EMS, for closed EMS building that we were told wouldn't have significant costs, yet HVAC and mold were found and significant costs ensue. Why has the council's liaison to the Housing Authority, Ms. Grace, reported in detail the shortcomings of Mr. Murray's work? The fact that Mr. Murray, after 22 months on the job, has not produced a single market to affordable property, yet has received thousands of dollars in compensation. Why did council approve a resolution that would have raided the Affordable Housing Trust monies for the second time for a property that's already owned by the township? Why would the only 3 council members to openly express interest in maintaining the municipal budget this year be the same 3 who are on the ballot? Given that it's election season, I don't expect answers this evening. These are questions to reflect on in your own time. As you reflect, please remember to view these topics through the lens of the citizen who you represent. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Anyone else? Yes, be like that.
Hello, Elizabeth Dugan Blenheim.
All right.
So I have a question. Everybody that is in Blenheim has been there for at least a month, has seen some construction on Lower Landing Road. And somebody here is probably going to tell me that it's a county road, and I understand that. The construction has been going on since about the 4th week of August. And I understand there was a sinkhole, which would delay things. My understanding of that situation is there might have been a sidewalk that was going in. I know that there was resurfacing and then as of right now, I think the lines are down. The road's kind of bumpy. The little thingies for the lines are still there. There's little plastic things. And there's cones everywhere. So I have 2 questions. First of all, October, it's going to be October at the end of this week. So if the guys are still there, I'm wondering if the cones are still there, I'm wondering if I can take some and use them as Halloween decorations because they're orange. And if I can't do that, I'm wondering if you guys have any idea of how long they're going to be there and just when the construction's going to end.
First, I don't think it's cones if you use them. By the contractor.
It's a Halloween cover.
Second, Mr. Carter's or Mr. Jadwell about the progress on that and a possible date.
And emails it over.
Mr. Higgins was sent to me, Mr. Jadwell, I will give an update on that.
So next question. There's a couple questions from another meeting where I wasn't able to speak that I have some notes. So the first question is, I know that the 2020 audit from Bowman and Company was approved and it is on the website currently. I do see that there's no findings and recommendations in that report. But sometimes there are items that are discussed with management, or, and I don't know if they do this anymore, probably not, because it would have to be, it's public record, but sometimes there's a written management letter that's issued for lesser issues like, 2 out of 32 items didn't have something signed or whatever. So I'm just wondering if somebody has an example of maybe other possible issues, because not everybody's perfect.
Were addressed to me.
Also, the union contracts were approved, I think it was the same meeting. Do you know what the financial effect was? Like, is it, for example, 3% increase or 0% that they get 50 benefits? So, I was going to say, so 4 or 5%. Was there a change to benefits? And my time's running out. One quick question. Was the increase for, okay, when did it start? Was it 21, 22, or is it 20? It starts in 22. So was that, okay. So was that in the budget? Right. Was the increase in 21 anticipated in the budget?
Ms. Coyne?
Please point, choose like you're.
At the last meeting, Mr. Hutchison requested I send an email with my specific questions so Council President could get answers from T&M Associates. I sent that email on September 14th, 13 days ago. I did not receive a response until 5:10 this evening. The response I received, once again, did not answer my questions, most of which I've been asking repeatedly now for 3 months. Council President said he was waiting for additional information from Mr. Slaheka from T&M Associates, and then he would try to get the information from me. He did respond to my 4th question, but he didn't answer it. I feel it's my responsibility as a resident of this community to ask questions and to hold our elected representatives accountable for the management of the community. It's your job to answer my questions. I'm doing my job, and I'd like to know why you guys are having such a hard time doing yours.
I'm not having a hard time doing my job. I answered your 4th question. I'm sorry it's not the answer that you wanted to hear. You were asked, is the community allowed to participate in the planning process? You said they're welcome to participate. People can ask to be part of the process. We have people part of the process who has the different ideas and values and the attitude of the plan. I'm going to read my email back. You have
No,
that.
I'm not. I'm going to read my question.
So I answered your question because you didn't like the response.
You didn't answer my question.
I did.
No, you didn't. I asked.
So the other 3 questions, I'm going to give Mr. Slaheka to get back to you. And I will provide you those responses once I receive them.
Okay, but you didn't answer my question. My question was, who will decide which meetings and discussions the community will be invited to?
Okay, so we have a planner and we have who's ever working on whether it's a redevelopment plan, a study, or a design. Those individuals will invite individuals to participate. Whatever it may be. It is just not the village of Gloucester Township or Blackwood West or any other redevelopment project.
I asked how would
So
the
that
community
could change according to the plan.
I asked how would the community be notified and invited to those meetings?
So who's ever involved in it. And I think you're just focused on one particular project. There's other projects throughout the town.
No, actually I'm not. There's a lot of projects and they all involve or should involve the community. They're all very important to the community and not one of them has ever had a meeting where the community and the residents were involved in the planning and participation of developing that redevelopment area. The only meetings that the public's ever been allowed or invited to is at the planning board the week before it gets approved. So I wanted specific answers as to how the community is going to be notified of these meetings, because I want to make sure I'm there. Is it going to be in the newspaper? Is it going to be on the website? Are you going to announce it at council meetings?
So in the formal process, when there is something on the planning board that is advertised, as you wrote that, correct?
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking
No,
about
but I'm
meetings
talking,
you're
I'm talking
saying.
about notification. You asked about notification. So we're talking about specific plans throughout the township. They would reach out to community members, stakeholders, and people have defined stakeholders differently. Mr. Slechta defines stakeholders differently. I define it differently. You define it differently.
Mr. Slaheka has defined it for me. I repeated his
And I
definition.
define what I believe stakeholders are, which
Okay,
are
but
those are people
he's
who
the person
you're
hired
stepping
as the
over me,
plan.
Ms. Clark.
Okay, once again, my questions aren't being answered.
No, I'm answering your question. You still like the answer I'm providing.
You're not answering my questions. I'm asking how are the people going
The
to be
planner, in my email, I
notified?
said the planner or who's ever working on that particular project will reach out to the community in that particular area. I would encourage them to do so.
How?
Notifying them.
Okay, then I asked if people
How
could
they
be
notify,
added.
if there's a swath of an area, if there's a particular plan, they would reach out to those individuals. I would encourage them to do that because we want input. We want a process to take place. You may not believe that, okay, and I'm not giving you the answer that you want to tell me. I'm answering your question. I don't know what else you want me to add.
Specifics. I ask specific questions. I want specific answers,
Okay.
not generalizations.
One meeting, I'm not involved with the planning process. I'm not the planner. I'm not the economic development consultant. They would reach out. I would encourage them to reach out to those particular areas and those people who have a vested interest in that particular area, the stakeholders.
But the community, I'm told, also has a vested interest in those areas. So how would I, on Shoes Landing Road, be notified of a planning meeting or a discussion regarding the villages of
Well, I
Gloucester?
would imagine they would invite people who are in that particular area.
Okay, but what if
That's what you
I
said.
would like to be invited to that meeting? Could I go? I asked if I
I
could
also
have,
said you could ask. That was in my email as well.
I asked if
President could ask.
I asked specifically if people could request that their names be added to a stakeholder list.
They can request it. I put in the email. They can request it.
Okay, so if they request it, is that something the mayor is going to agree to? Or they can request it and they'll maybe be told no?
I'm not sure. They can request it at this point.
Okay, but I'm following up on your statement that you spoke to the mayor. The mayor said he welcomes community
Absolutely,
involvement.
and he does.
Okay, so I'm asking specifics on that.
And I'm giving you a general answer because I'm not involved with the planning. Okay, if you ask to be involved in, okay, I'll give you an example. There was a Wawa that was located in the southern part of Erie. Okay, there were people being looked at in Glendora who probably don't know where that Erie Wawa is located. For those individuals, we have to contact the people in Glendora to tell them, hey, there's going to be a Wawa across from the Erie Firehouse.
If there's somebody in Glendora who's interested in the community redevelopment and would like to be invited to all redevelopment meetings, should they be notified? Yes, absolutely.
That's a arduous task.
How is it? There's a whole lot of people here that are interested in redevelopment.
That's hard. So you're going to have, let's say, someone who lives on Rowan Avenue, and we're going to notify all the individuals on Rowan Avenue to participate in a planning process for that particular section of our town.
That's not what I said. I said,
No, you-
if there's a certain individual who's interested in all community redevelopment, like myself, if I requested to be put on the stakeholder list for all redevelopment in the township, I would like to go to all those redevelopment meetings, not just the ones that are right on my street or in my neighborhood. I'm interested in the villages of Gloucester. That impacts me greatly. I'm interested in Blackwood West. I'm interested in College Drive. I'm interested in all of them.
I appreciate your interest. Well, at this point, I think the next time that there's an opening on the planning board, I perhaps may recommend you to the planning board because of the
Thank you.
interest that you have.
No, thank you.
No,
But I would
thank
like
you,
to be,
But you want to be involved in our community.
I
You
do,
want to participate in these
I
things.
do.
Here's an opportunity to effectuate change.
That's true, but unfortunately, I'm unable to accept that invitation.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. You have anything else to add?
Yes,
Okay, I think your time's up, but
I would like to know specifically
then
if
you're
I
the last
request,
speaker because you've gone over your time. So go ahead.
okay, if I request to be notified of any type of community development, is that something that's possible? Any redevelopment area?
Mr. Potter, is there a way that we can have the township website constantly be updated with these types of events? You're really talking about the township hires a professional to study an area. Well, that professional, again, you gotta understand, that professional then has a task. And that task is to go out, do whatever and second are rejected. So to say you want to be involved, or the public wants to be involved, the only way that's going to happen is when those professionals are walking an area, such as Blackwood Huntington Road, Blackwood Pike, studying an area, how it's been progressing, residential or commercial. Those professionals then take the whole region and see what that area will benefit in that region. They communicate with the people in that area, then they put their package together and make that recommendation to the governing body and the planning board. To say you want to be involved in that, the government doesn't have control of how that professional is out there working it, where the government's doing a schedule. That comes in when the government gets the plan, reads the plan, says, we don't like the plan, or we do like the plan. To be involved in that initially, council or administration really doesn't have control of that professional out there doing their job.
Okay, but the RFPs that you've gotten from those professionals who are doing their job state in the RFPs that community involvement is critical to the planning of those redevelopment.
And I'm sure, at least from my experience in years of dealing with planning boards and professionals, that's what they do. They walk the area, they talk to the businesses that are in the area, they talk to the residents, what can be developed, what the space is, whether it's farmland or whatever that's going to change. When outlets came in, they talk to people in that immediate area, plus other communities, to see whether that's going to be beneficial. So that's their task, and how they put a plan together for the county or a plan together for a municipality, that's how they do that. But it's not something that the government has a schedule. They get the plan, and they give their reports on how they develop their recommendation. Government can object to it, or reject it, or approve it.
Okay, well, I'm just saying the RFPs that have been submitted, the proposals and the things that they say that they're going to do, I don't see being done. I went to the village of Gloucester. I spoke to the business owners there. I spoke to the people who own property there. Do you know not one person told me that anybody from T&M Associates, Triad, or the township had contacted them? Not a one.
Can you provide me that list, please?
I sure can.
Okay, if you can email to me, I appreciate it.
Because you know something, if that's true, things, then we've got to hold somebody responsible for nothing.
That's my point. That is my point. What is being, in the RFPs say that they're going to do stuff that isn't being done in my eyes. And I think that's a huge loss for the community. All this stuff is being done and people don't even have a clue. The people that are running businesses in that area have no idea it's even happening. There's a plan in place since 2015. They have no idea there's a plan in place since 2015.
Well, I gotta be honest with you, though, I'm a business owner of a different town. I know what they're doing.
Well, you should.
I know, but, you know, I don't know if it's because I don't poke my head up out to look. I don't necessarily want to blame it on them. It might be me that's at fault, you know, in that area. So, but I do agree. I do. If our P&M or whoever it is not doing their job, that can be defined by not reaching out to businesses in that area that are going to be affected. Then we need to talk to somebody.
I mean, I just think the community needs to know what's going on in the community. And I think that township council and every professional that's hired by this township should have the same goal. This is my community.
Thank you very much. That concludes the public portion. Board of Directors. Nothing to report. We've exceeded time limit.
Nothing to report. Nothing to report. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, participating. Have a good evening. Go Eagles.
Thank you all for coming. Have a great week. Be safe going home. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Have a good night.
Congratulations to Morgan. Thank you, Tracy, for coordinating that and having her serve as an ambassador of Gloucester Township. On October 9th, we have our Citizens Appreciation Park ceremony in Glendora, and followed by the following Saturday, the food truck and beer
very interesting.